Welcome to the show with no interference. Get all your NFL needs made by fans for the fans. We are your hosts, West Side, Big Sass, and the Bull. So here we go. Brown and the brown and yellow Denver.
I like think the Packers. The Packers blue and yellow ones are just not. What are you, Michigan?
I was just about to say, I've talked to multiple people that like the Packers throwback uniforms. Their uniforms are throwbackish enough. Just leave them how they are.
I like Washington. I like the one year that the Titans wore the New York Titans throwbacks, the green and navy blue with the yellow.
Oh, the ones that look like Jets uniforms.
Yeah, well, it's because it's the New York Titans, and the Titans for whatever reason.
Oh right.
Oh
right,
wait,
right.
I'm lying.
Yeah.
It wasn't it was the New York Jets were the New York Titans when they played against the Titans.
Okay.
Right, okay, I remember
Keith
that.
Bullock was like, if the Oilers win, the Titans win. If the Titans win, the Jets win.
As much as I love my Eagles, the Eagles throwback uniform they wore in like 2008 has got to be the all-time worst uniform of all time. Do you guys remember that bright yellow, bright blue uniform?
Yeah.
They crushed the Rams that day, if I'm not mistaken, but I was disgraced.
Yeah.
Like, watching the highlights in that game, it was just embarrassing. But then they brought back Kelly Green in like 2011, the Michael Vick, Kevin Cobb game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was that around the Kevin Cobb era?
Yeah, I like the Chargers.
Yeah, I never had bought in the Chargers one. Yeah,
pretty.
Those are
I
nice.
like the creamsicle Bucks uniforms, to be honest.
Yeah, no, those aren't bad.
Yeah, I like those too, and I like honestly, I like the Patriots throwbacks they were wearing with the old school
Paul Tuckett Patriot
hiking the football.
Mm-hmm. It's our high school mascot.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the worst.
I guess we'll never see them, but one of my favorite throwbacks was at the time, the Redskins with the spear on the side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really like the really dark red ones we wore with the brown pants and almost like the brown leather. It looks like it's a leather helmet. Like I said, we kept those around. I think we'll probably see them again this year. They were our 80th anniversary ones from they were doing that.
I'm trying to think if there's any other cool
nice
throwbacks.
I'm really not a fan of the Steelers alternate. I don't know if it's a throwback or alternate. There's
the stripes.
Bumblebee, stripes. Yeah. Not a fan of that either. I think it's an eyesore.
Last one, the OG Seahawks one with the straight blue jerseys and the silver pants.
Not a big fan of those.
Yeah, I was one of the newer uniforms. Older.
They're not bad.
When
I had another one in my head. Now I just forgot it. The Chicago Bears kind of looks like the same uniform they have now, but it's a nice classic look. And then the Lions do the same thing. The Lions one looks pretty good, even though it's pretty much the same thing. It's just the solid colors.
You know what I don't like?
But I think their helmets. They just have the
one thing, it's not even a throwback, but one thing I don't like admitting, when the Cowboys wore the helmet with the red and blue stripe on it this year,
I don't remember.
I thought that I thought it looked super clean. Like, forget the rest of the jersey, but the silver helmet with the blue, white, and the red stripe on it, and I was like, that's a pretty cool helmet.
I don't like that. Speaking of the NFC East, the Giants throwbacks are pretty nice.
They haven't changed too much though over the years.
No, the colors are just a little more prominent. I feel like
that's I think NFL, when I think NFL perfect jersey, that's when the OG Giants come to mind.
Just thought of one, the Falcons old one. I like that one a lot.
Oh, just a straight
the
red
one where they have
silver pants.
Yeah. I don't know if that's an alternate from the throwback or that's the jersey they actually wore for a while, but I like that one.
It's kind of just like the red version of the Lions old one.
Yeah, I do like that one though.
Yeah, well.
Oh, that's the one I was going to mention. The Rams one, they had a nice throwback, but now their throwback is pretty much their uniform now because
the cool one with the horns on it before they kind of butchered it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's get back on topic. Thanks for tuning in. This is No Interference with West Side, Big Sass, and the Bull. We are going to continue to break down the 2022 NFL free agency, and piggybacking off of our episode last week, we'll be moving to the NFC, specifically the NFC North.
We are the North.
King of the North. Not a ton of crazy moves. The Bears haven't really done anything. I mean, they brought in Byron Pringle and a bunch of other random guys. I think they're just
trade away their best player.
Yeah, they're just stuck in a dump cap and rebuild around what's his face?
Justin Fields. Good old
Justin Fields. I was gonna say they were kind of handicapped with the moves they could make, and they got. I mean, I guess they wanted to move on from some of those stars, Mack and Robinson, to get whatever they got back. I don't know if it was just draft capital or players.
Yeah,
but they've literally done nothing to help Justin Fields, from what I can tell.
Yeah, they brought in
the best thing they did for Justin Fields was fire Matt Nagy.
For real.
Agreed. Yeah.
That's probably their best offseason move.
Yeah, the two wide receivers they brought in don't make any big of a difference. I mean, they have Mooney, but that's about it.
He's going to have to go through that Troy Aikman period where he just got beat up for his first 2 years, and then hopefully the team takes off if they manage it well. But like you said, they haven't done much. I mean, Byron Pringle, but I mean, I wouldn't get excited. They brought in St. Brown, a few offensive linemen who are just bodies, and they brought in some defenders here and there, but nothing to get excited about.
Mm-hmm. They were trying to sign Ojinobi, I know that, but then he failed his physical, so that never really went through. It would have been a nice little piece because I know they lost some pieces on the D-line.
Yeah. Well, let's jump over to another dysfunctional team, the Detroit Lions. They brought in DJ Chark on a 1-year, $10 million deal. He's showed flashes, but he's hardly played the last 2 years. I mean, he's a 6'4" receiver, runs a 4.3. I don't know if he fits great with Jared Goff, but we'll see.
Yeah,
they brought
pretty
in
major injury last year too.
They re-signed Khalif Raymond and Josh Reynolds, they're all right. They're like a 3s and 4s as far as receivers. They bring in Evan Brown. It's a cheap deal. He can play all 3 spots on the inside O-line. And then they re-signed Tracy Walker. He's been a pretty consistent safety for them. And then they signed a few linebackers, and they brought back Jared Davis, which I thought was weird because he was kind of a bust for them after being was he a first-round pick or a second-round pick for them at middle linebacker?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't think he was a first.
Yeah, but they bring him back, and
yeah, they have Akuda coming back from his injury, but he wasn't really that impressive before the injury, so I don't know how much that's going to help.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they got the 2nd overall pick, the 32nd pick, and the 34th pick. I don't know. I'm starting to hear more and more Malik Willis with the number 2 overall. I don't love that. You got Jared Goff, and you're paying him. Just with those 3 picks, get as much talent as you want. And
yep, they have the number 2 pick for a reason. Their defense is atrocious. I mean, they don't have their answer in a quarterback. Jared Goff's a viable option for now.
They're just kind of stuck with him.
But they're a few years off, so they just need to draft well. Yep.
I mean, I know what they're thinking. Hopefully next year we're competing, so we're not getting a top 5 pick. But I don't think Malik Willis at 2 is the right move.
Mm-hmm.
No, that would shock me. If they drafted him,
a lot of the reports are saying.
I wouldn't be mad. We talked about we don't have to get into draft too much, but I wouldn't be mad if a couple quarterbacks were picked in the top 10, pushed more talent down towards.
I wouldn't mind that either myself.
The Eagles and
good point.
But it's just another thing of not other than DJ Chark, and And then they re-signed Tracy Walker. Not a lot of moves to get excited about when you're a franchise that's been struggling for quite some time. Now,
At least they have the St. Brown fella.
I like him. He's a good piece. He's a good piece for sure.
Open draw.
Most catches in the league without a drop last year.
Mm-hmm. He was a rookie. Nice. Showed out on a really bad team.
Yeah. Now over to Wisconsin, Green Bay. We all know the deal they gave Aaron Rodgers. They re-signed Robert Tonyan to a one-year deal, but he's coming off of a ACL injury, I believe it was. They put a second-round tender on Alan Lazard. Re-signed Devondre Campbell after he had like a breakout year, so he made himself some money, $50 million. And then they extended Preston Smith, but then they cut Zadarius Smith. And then they signed up Jaron Reed to beef up the D-line, and they also signed Rasul Douglas to shore up their cornerback depth. But I think everyone's just thinking, who's Rodgers going to be passing to?
That's the number one question all season.
Yeah, I was going to say their big their saving grace is Alan Lazard. He's going to be the answers to their questions. Just kidding.
He's a solid, third solid receiver. But.
Yeah, but I mean, if he's their best option and you put your number one corner on him, he's not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, they already got a lot of criticism before Devontae Adams left for not having weapons, and now he's not there. What?
There's absolutely no chance this will happen, but what if with their first pick, everyone's like, all right, they got to take the best receiver available, and they draft one of these quarterbacks?
Oof.
And they go,
I would love that because I would love to have a live shot of Aaron Rodgers' face.
We don't like Love anymore, and Rodgers is leaving soon, so we had to do it. They probably burn that stadium down.
Just trade Aaron Rodgers. Draft day trade. Trade Aaron Rodgers to, who has the first overall pick?
Jags.
Yeah,
trade him to the Jags for Trevor Lawrence. The Jags have already made all these free agency signings. Well, they probably don't have cap space for him, but, make it work.
Yeah, I think the main concern with them is it's just weapons for Rodgers to play with, and then their defense, it's okay, but they're going to need Rashawn Gary to step up now that Zadarius Smith is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. I mean, with the division they play in, they're always going to have a chance.
They're going to have to lean on those running backs next year.
The players they re-signed, sure. I think they definitely should have re-signed them. But because of the cap situation, they really couldn't go out and do too much else. So it's good they got their players back. Like we talked about Devondre Campbell. He had his highest, best season of his career. Now he's, 28, 29. Will he do it again? We don't know. But I think it was a pretty solid piece of their defense they brought back.
Yeah. I like him. We'll see what he does. Mm-hmm. Now over to the Minnesota Vikings. So they gave Kirk Cousins that 1-year extension. They beefed up their defense a little bit, bringing in Harrison Phillips from the Bills. He's a nice run-stuffing defensive tackle. They bring in Jordan Hicks, who's I think an underrated linebacker. They took Zadarius Smith from the Packers, gave him a 3-year, $42 million deal to team him up with Danielle Hunter. And then they re-signed Patrick Peterson, who I don't love the move, but and the league where the league's at, you need cornerbacks. So I'm not I get it.
Yeah, supposedly Zadarius was supposed to sign with Baltimore again. He was supposed to reunite with them, but that fell through. I didn't even know he had signed with the Vikings.
Yep,
it's a nice addition.
He left Baltimore and went straight to Minnesota.
Yeah, I think they made some decent moves this offseason. I was really hoping the Eagles would sign Jordan Hicks back. I was sad to see him go initially because he can play multiple styles for a linebacker. He's a good coverage linebacker. I think he can get after the quarterback and stop the run. So I like that. It remains to be seen if their defense will improve from last year, because I think it was time for Mike Zimmer to go anyways, but that had to have been bring him into the office and be like, you're a defensive guy, and our defense was not
He's too
good.
preoccupied with his
see you later.
supermodel girlfriend.
I still think that's
weird.
hilarious.
Whatever works, man.
She's dating Skeletor.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is definitely the Vikings' chance. They had the only other competent quarterback is Rodgers. The Vikings should have hopefully a healthy Dalvin Cook. They got Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Irv Smith Jr. Should be coming back healthy. Defense, I don't think is going to be amazing, but hopefully a little bit improved. They probably should be a playoff team, but it's the Vikings.
Yeah. What pick do they
They're
have?
the 12th pick after Washington.
Okay. They should try to snag a corner
I was just
or
looking at
jump
Peter
up if they
Schraber's
can.
mock draft earlier, and he had Colin Hamilton going to Washington at 11, and then at 12, Derek Stingley Jr. We were just talking about that.
Yeah, I think that could be.
Yeah.
Derek Stingley, we don't know because of the injuries and the up and down play, and then after he has pro day, some people were saying he ran like a 4.32, and then some people had him on like the mid 4.4s, and
that was just recently too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
4.3.
Yeah. So
if he can do what he did in 2019, which sounds stupid because that was so long ago, he should be able to be a plug and play corner. But
I think 12 is a good range
see.
for him. You're not overdrafting, and if he, is what everyone hopes he is, then it's a steal.
Yep.
All right, so that does it for the NFC North. I mean, I guess if I had to pick, the Vikings are winning free agency, but it's kind of no contest, so I'm just giving it to them out of default, basically.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's make our way over to the NFC East, and
the beloved NFC East.
Let's start.
Hated.
Let's just start with the Cowboys. So the Cowboys, in my opinion, have had kind of a not too great offseason.
Below average, I would say.
They trade Amari Cooper. Then, what was the receiver that went to the Dolphins?
Tyreek Hill?
Cedric
Wilson.
Cedric Wilson left. There was a report that they were hoping they'd get him, but it didn't work out. They re-signed Michael Gallup to a 5-year, nearly $60 million extension, and there's reports that he might not be ready for free agents for the start of the season. They bring in James Washington from the Steelers, and I liked him coming out of Oklahoma. Was he Oklahoma State or Oregon State? I think he was Oklahoma State. I liked him coming out of college, but
yeah, he was Oklahoma State.
He's just inconsistent, hard to trust. They franchise tagged Dalton Schultz after he had a breakout year. They gave DeMarcus Lawrence a $40 million deal. That's $30 million guaranteed, and I still say he had one good year. It wasn't even great, and he's been banking off that his whole career. I think he's one of the most overrated players in the league.
Yeah, they had their window. We don't have to. I know we're talking about free agency moves, but I feel like they had their window with drafting Dak and Zeke in the same draft, and they had a really, really good O-line, and they drafted well at certain positions on defense, but the O-line's getting old. They cut
Leo Collins,
what's his last name?
And they lost Connor Williams.
And then they lost. Connor Williams did not play well last year, but even so, I don't know if they have any replacements for those two guys.
Randy Gregory debacle.
Tyron Smith. That's the tackle's name, right? He's getting up there in age.
Hurt a lot too.
He's hurt a lot. He's still good, but I'm really curious to see how Dak Prescott performs without a offensive line that can protect him, because especially his first few years, they were able to run the ball well with Zeke, who's now getting older, and I think last year was probably his last okay season. I know he didn't run that well, and his average wasn't that great, but he still had over 10 touchdowns. They really need to give the ball more to Tony Pollard, and they just haven't had a good free agency. They lost Randy Gregory. I don't think he's an amazing player, but he's a decent pass rusher. He can get pressures on the quarterback. He might not get 10 sacks a year, but pressures on the quarterback is important. Who's going to be there to help Micah Parsons in his second year, since he's a perennial defensive player of the year. But other than that, I don't know.
With how this free agency's gone so far, their defense is due for a reset. They were getting crazy pressure and creating all these turnovers, and that's not consistent year to year. And I know they had injuries here and there, but their offense was, how many offenses would you say talent-wise are better than theirs last year? And now CeeDee Lamb, he's going to be seeing number ones covering him, and probably coverage rolling to him. And Michael Gallup, he's okay, but he's hurt. O-line's getting old. I have questions about the coaching staff.
Not a big McCarthy guy now.
Yeah, so not a good year. Not a good year at all. Let's go to the second other team in the division before we get to y'all's teams. The New York Giants. They're kind of stuck in limbo. They brought in Brian Dabble from the Bills. They brought in Tyrod Taylor, and I feel he's played for so many teams now, and it just doesn't seem to work out for him. But
he has the worst lockout.
If Daniel Jones doesn't step up, I would give the ball to Tyrod, honestly.
I think there's a really good chance we'll see Tyrod Taylor be the starting quarterback at some point.
They brought in Matt Breida. I guess he'll add some explosiveness to their offense, but he's, I guess, insurance for Barkley. They bring in Richie James, who he can play the slot, and not a whole lot left. They brought in not a whole lot else. They brought in John Feliciano and Mark Lewinsky that will help their interior O-line, but you're hoping for average at best play from them.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say that. And then they lost Evan Ingram, which wasn't really that big of a playmaker anyway, and bring in Ricky Seals-Jones, who is the second string tight end at best. And he can do a little bit of everything. He was in Washington, I remember, he had some hands, but he's not a play, not going to get you anything special.
Yeah, and then...
Yeah, I would like to see what they do in the draft before I grade their offseason. But I feel like their new GM's kind of feeling it out, signing some veterans and letting some other guys, like you just mentioned, Evan Ingram go, which I feel like, I don't think he was an overrated player, because I think everyone knows what he is, but not somebody worth paying, not overpaying for. So I think that was fine to let him go. I'm curious what they're going to do with those 2 top 10 picks. I feel like they have to draft offensive line.
I think if they go trenches,
maybe grab a receiver.
You go trenches, you go O-line, D-line.
D-line,
yeah.
Agreed.
They should trade Saquon
Barkley. I was just about to say that. For the longest time, I was saying just trade Barkley, but he's been injury prone. The NFL is just like a meat grinder when it comes to running backs. I don't even know what they would get for him. I think they would get so little for him that they might as well just ride him.
You don't think they could get...
I think they won it first.
The top 2 pick? You don't think they could get like a...
I think second? They could maybe get a second.
Yeah. I know they wanted it first, and it was first mentioned earlier in the offseason, and I don't think anybody was buying that.
Do you think that has to do with Saquon Barkley himself, injuries and availability, or do you think that's a league outlook on
Combination.
running backs?
Yeah, I think both.
Lack of value
His
at the
injuries have
position.
been, his injuries have been pretty bad as past couple of years.
I mean, he could definitely. If he can put it together this year and have shades of his rookie year, he'll put himself in line to get a payday, and maybe the Giants can flip him then. But I think the value for trading him, you're losing out. So you just gotta keep him. But they're in transition, so I didn't expect any big signings. Who do we want to go to next?
Decent splash last year too.
What was that?
The Giants had a pretty decent splash last year.
Yeah, they were going all in.
Wide receiver.
Yeah, they're going all in to build around Jones, and it kind of backfired. Let's go to Philly next. The Eagles, they re-signed Boston Scott. Do you just keep him because he's a giant killer? Is that literally the only reason to keep him around? No, I don't. I like him. They signed Zach Pascal and Greg Ward.
I didn't know you guys got Pascal. So from the Colts.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni is big on him.
And then they brought back Jason Kelsey for maybe one last rodeo. They beefed up the D-line with Derek Barnett, Fletcher Cox. They basically forced his hand at redoing a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Hassan Reddick, which I think is a bargain at 3 years, $45 million. And then you also re-signed Anthony Harris who I think is a solid safety for a 1 year, $2.5 million deal. So not really much turnover from last year. I mean, hope Jalen Hurts runs it back and you got 2 firsts to rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
Well, reload.
Yeah, I think they've had a solid offseason. I think some Eagles fans are a little underwhelmed with the lack of splash moves. I think a lot of not hoping for, but expecting maybe a move for a quarterback, which I think they probably tried. I think they've done a good job of keeping it under wraps how much they probably did try to trade for Watson or Wilson, but I think it turned out for the best having Jalen Hurts running it back with Jalen Hurts next year. They re-signed a lot of those young players, Josh Sweat, Jordan Mailata. Those are two.
I can't believe y'all got Jordan Mailata in the 7th round.
Steal.
Yeah, I mean, that's a steal.
There's a left tackle out of Minnesota that's an Australian rugby player. Is like 6'8", like 360 or something.
There's no competition there.
He's not as athletic as Mailata, but
can he sing?
Probably not.
Yeah, I love that guy. He's a really good run blocker. Which I mean, our whole offensive line is him and Dickerson on the left side. Well, they just destroy people.
What's crazy is he reminds me of
which one?
Mailata, of Jason Peters. No, I know he's massive, but for a big guy, he's got those nice feet. He's strong. Like he can just with his hands just brick wall you, and it looks easy.
Yeah, I mean Jason Peters is arguably the best left tackle I think the Eagles have ever had. His size, footwork, hand stability, the whole thing. He's just good bodyguard. He always went after other players if they went after his quarterback. RJ knows a lot about that with Washington. But yeah, just overall, I think the Eagles still have a few more moves brewing. I think Harry Roseman's done a good job this offseason overall. I'm excited to see what they do in the draft. If they're gonna just stay with these picks, draft up maybe. I think they've done a good job of retaining young players that they have drafted, and I like some of the veterans they've added, and I like the addition of Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, that was a great signing,
to add to the pass rush. I was surprised they did bring back Derek Barnett. I'm not a huge fan of his.
It's always him.
He's the penalty king. That move kind of, I feel like the Eagles think their roster is good in a win now mode, while they still are accumulating assets to build their team, which is what you want your team to do. But I'll leave it at that for the Eagles.
All right, so that leaves us one team in the East, the Washington Commanders. The big move, of course, is they traded for Carson Wentz, which I know some people are hating on the move. I like it personally. I guess we'll see what happens. They did an okay job about bringing back talent. They re-signed J.D. McKissick, re-signed Cam Sims, re-signed Bobby McCain. They were able to bring in Andrew Norwell from the Jags, who I think will do his best to make up for the loss of
Brandon Sheriff.
Yeah.
Sheriff. And then Eric Flowers too lost him.
But the team will live or die on the shoulders of Carson Wentz. So it's a gamble, but the defense should improve. The passing game should improve, and hopefully they can establish a run game. But RJ, you're the resident Washington fan, so what do you think?
Yeah, I'm overall satisfied with their their off season so far, free agency. There's only so much you can do after you trade for Carson Wentz and his contract. Big old $28 million smackaroos sitting on there. At the same time, though, we still didn't bleed the rest of our funds this year because we still have some building to do, I think, for next year, depending on what happens. We have a lot of players we need to re-sign to in-house. Got Terry coming up. You got, I think Antonio Gibson's going to want to deal if he can continue to be our workhorse on the other end. Plus, we got the defense. I think Deron Payne needs a contract. So we have, a lot to look out for then. And I think one thing that hasn't really been talked about a lot is the fact that this is Ron Rivera's third season now, going into his third season. His first season made the playoffs, second season missed. He's 1-1. I trust him and I trust Martin Mayhew to make the best decisions for this franchise now that Dan Snyder has seemed to listen and to do what he said he would do and to take a nice step back and focus on maybe just the money, on supplying the team with the money.
He should probably be
definitely
careful of that.
Yeah, well, apparently that was there's a claim came out recently about the ticket sales, but that's a whole nother blah. We don't know about that yet. We all want him to sell the team, but as of right now, we're forced with him as our owner. So if he just continues to shut up, I think we'll be good.
How many years does Wentz have?
It's
1 year or 2?
3-year deal.
Yes, 3 still.
It was 2 or 3. Definitely multi-year contract still. I believe it's 3 though. I can look it up.
So the more I thought about
a 4-year deal with the Colts.
The Wentz trade, yeah, the more because after this year, there's not really as much cap issues, right?
I think it's because we also had to pay him like a certain amount of money. The 2 days after we signed him, he was doing his roster bonus. Yeah.
I feel like
it was a 4-year deal with the Colts or with the. No, come on now, it's the Eagles. I don't want to see that.
He re-signed with the Eagles. Yeah, I think the year or 2 before.
That's the same contract because you guys had a trade with Indy as well. Yeah, so he's under contract through 2024.
Okay, so 2 more seasons after
this. So the cap hit next year is 26, and the year after that is 27. So it's not going to be as high as this year, but it's only a little bit off.
Yeah, my thought was maybe I don't think Washington sees him as an answer, as more of a better solution with the team they have built now, and their team can make him better. And maybe depending on how these next few years go, if it doesn't work out, I don't think that Washington has the mindset of not winning. So I don't think they're going with that approach. I think they see themselves as a playoff team with Wentz. But we mentioned it before. There's some good quarterbacks coming out in the next draft or 2. So I don't know if maybe their thought process is Wentz can get us through this year and we'll look maybe
and
next
then get
year,
out of the contract after this year
with the team they still have.
Yeah, and then so from the words of Ron Rivera himself, the past few interviews I saw the last couple of weeks, he is all in on Carson Wentz. He has stated out loud that he wants him to be the quarterback of our future. He's really said he's okay with it. He's all behind him. obviously he has to still perform. It's not about what he wants now. He's just a supportive guy too. I mean, you don't just go out and trade for somebody and then be like, screw you, put you on the back burner.
That's what the Colts.
Yeah. And then that's.
I think that was.
Go for it.
I was just gonna say, I think he did. Ron Rivera must have done his homework, because I think that's the best thing you can do for Wentz is support him 100%.
He definitely, was looking at other options as well, but it was the fact of who could really want to sign here in free agency over us forcing our hand and actually getting a player that's he can't not really say no. So I think he made a good decision. Definitely still kind of a knee-jerk reaction decision. In a way, I don't want to say it's panic, but I guess I like it. And then over to what was I going to talk about? Something to do with Carson. We were just talking about so you brought up the contract. And then so with the quarterbacks next year, if we do it doesn't. He's also said that it doesn't change our mindset for the future of a quarterback position either. At the same time, you still want to draft somebody, and in the next maybe 4 years, they could play
behind Wentz,
and he wants a good leader, a good quarterback that's in position, that's a part of the franchise, already established, to then teach that player how to be a commander and take command.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think the division.
It's not a bad.
I think the division is going to be kind of a battle. I would say the Giants are probably out unless Daniel Jones takes that big leap. But other than that, I think it could be a three team race for the division. But
hang on, did you make that up, RJ, or is that a thing that's
take
going
command?
around?
That's our hashtag.
Yeah.
Instead of that's what I said. That's what funny. It is now.
Let's journey down south to the NFC South, and we'll start with the Atlanta Falcons. They bring in Marcus Mariota, who Arthur Smith is familiar with. He signs a 2-year deal. Let's see, 2-year. He's going to be making $7 million in 2022, and has a $12 million option for 2023. So basically, if he plays well this year, he can make a decent salary next year. They re-upped Cordarrelle Patterson. They signed Damian Williams, the former Chiefs running back. They signed Damiere Byrd, Carterell Hodge, and Alden Tate, just guys at wide receiver. And then they signed a few offensive linemen, Jermaine Ifedi and Jake Matthews. Again, they're okay, but I mean, they're still borderline replaceable players. And then on defense, they brought in Lorenzo Carter, Rashaan Evans, who again played with Arthur Smith in Tennessee. They brought in Casey Hayward, Isaiah Oliver. They re-signed. And then they signed their kicker, Koo, to a 5-year, $24 million contract. I don't know. He's a good kicker, but
the big move.
I don't know.
They're committed.
I think the Falcons are looking at possibly being the worst team next year in the NFL.
I mean, they lost Calvin Ridley. Kyle Pitts, I like him, but
he'll have a good fantasy year, I think,
honestly, with the way the roster is looking, he's Calvin Johnson. He's out wide. Isolate him, because with no help in the middle of the field, you can throw backers at him. You can double cover him, bracket him. You can put a safety over the top. At least if you put him to the sideline, you give him a lot more space to work with. And Patterson, he had a kind of finally a breakout year as a dual threat weapon, but you need someone, I guess, to eat carries. I don't know. Like you said, they could be the worst team in the league for all we know.
Yeah, a lot of mock drafts have them possibly taking one of those quarterbacks. If I was them, I would take the best player off the board at 9 or 8, whatever they have, and just duke it out this year, see what happens. hopefully Kyle Pitts can progress, and then if you have a top 3 pick next year, try to snag one of those quarterbacks who hopefully the class is as good as it's looking like from now.
Yeah. They're just completely devoid of talent.
Yeah. I like Marcus Mariota going in there just because give him another shot at starting quarterback and then reuniting with Arthur Smith. It'd be give him a shot. He's showing he still has a little talent that left, so see what he can do this year. But
and I don't think the Calvin Ridley suspension is really something to be like, oh, they're without Calvin Ridley. I'm pretty sure they were going to trade him if he didn't get suspended.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like they didn't want to deal with him.
The Eagles.
I mean, there's not much to talk about. I hope Arthur Smith is given time to build the team that he wants, but I mean, they were kind of stuck. They got rid of Matt Ryan, which is I think is a positive move for the future. Just no point in holding on to him longer than you need to. Just collect talent and have a vision and stick to it. And
it's just unfortunate with all that dead cap from Matt Ryan.
Might as well eat it now, right?
Yeah, you got to.
So let's go to the Carolina Panthers. They made some decent moves, but I mean, I don't know. They signed Dante Foreman after he had a little comeback year with the Titans. I think he'll be a good backup for Christian McCaffrey, and maybe if McCaffrey gets hurt again, which it's starting to look like he probably will, Foreman can be a workhorse type back for you. They signed Rashard Higgins from the Browns. They signed DJ Moore to a 3-year, $61 million extension, which I think he's earned. He's been a top 15 receiver. I think you could say that, especially with what you look at the quarterbacks he's been dealing with. They signed their guard. They signed the guard Austin Corbett. Got me with that one. To a 3-year, $30 million deal. They bring in Bradley Bozeman from the Ravens on a 1-year deal. He's a solid center, and I think he can play center, both guards, and I think he's played some right tackle. So
I feel like the Ravens might feel that loss.
Yeah. Not to get off topic, but it was funny. I thought he was going to get paid, and he ended up taking like a 1-year, real small deal. Like the center market just wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
They got Matt Ioannidis. God, all these names are getting me. When you see it,
you were so good in the beginning. I was so impressed.
Yeah, well, when you're reading the names, like if you just tell me to say it, I know the name. When I'm reading the letters, I was just like, my brain's
I'm actually surprised about that one though, because you've told me and him. You've been talking about him for years. You're the one that really everybody I know that knows D-line in Washington. You knew. Like he's a 5th string defensive tackle, and you still know.
It's just the way it's spelled, the IOA.
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't know how to say it.
IDIS. Like I was honestly, when I was reading it, and I was like, "Is this the same guy? Like, is there another?"
Yeah. What my favorite?
I know they.
Well, this is back to Madden days drafting. Amendola. But yeah, with Ioannidis, it helps me remember is it was the whole Spartan thing. He just Leonidas, but Ioannidis.
Yeah, they bring in linebacker Corey Littleton on a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. They re-signed Dante Jackson, who's a really solid corner for them. 3-year, $31 million. That's a good contract.
They have a good secondary.
They bring in Xavier Woods, and then they signed Johnny Hecker. I mean, it's always good to have a solid punter, but I don't know with this team. I don't know.
They need a quarterback, so not much is going to happen until they figure that out.
I see a lot of people have them getting Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, so Peter Schraber said pick number 6, Kenny Pickett.
Here's the thing, though. My comparison for Kenny Pickett was Sam Darnold. So I don't.
I think they've already tried that, so maybe not want to go down. Yeah. But he's appealing to everybody. Everybody thinks he's the one quarterback that's ready. He can play this year. He's the most NFL ready quarterback. I don't know about that, but he might pull the trigger.
If you're the Panthers, do you start looking into trying to trade McCaffrey?
I mean, I think it's a similar situation in New York with Saquon. I mean,
Yeah, you got a
they're
point.
both premier backs that haven't been able to see the field a lot in the past few years. They can both, I mean, when healthy, they're both. I would take either one. I mean, they're top 5 picks in fantasy every year, even though that didn't work out last year, but they can make some plays.
Yeah, I think the Panthers' obvious need is quarterback. They have a solid roster. They have weapons. Just not a good year to need a quarterback. And Sam Darnold is doo-doo, I officially claim, because I thought he could maybe make a comeback or turn it around after getting away from the Jets and joining the Panthers, but I don't think that's
He's
going
good
to be
for
the
a couple
case.
highlights a season, I think. That's about it. That one rushing touchdown was sick last year, but, I mean, that's really all he did all year.
I do think Matt Rule grabs a quarterback just to try and save his job.
Maybe this quarterback class isn't that bad looking 5 years into the future. I wouldn't be surprised if you're right. And I don't know what their plan. I mean, they could try and grab a pass rusher or something with the 6th pick. Yeah, I was gonna say if they can get somebody on the D line to generate some pass rush this year, and then again,
Derek Brown looked like a star his first year, and now he looks like a bust 2 years. Well, 2 years since his sort of promising.
That's where Ioannidis comes in. He's gonna take over and start bull rushing people 2 at a time.
You said who?
Ioannidis.
Derek Brown.
No, Taylor. Okay, I thought you said Burns for a second.
Burns. I was saying they need another running mate for Burns, but then I was like, their interior is pretty bad too. So
so their secondary is solid. That's the thing. There's too much to that.
Need to have some pass rush to keep that secondary.
I agree. I hope J.C. Horn can come back this year healthy, and we can really see what he can do. Being that high pick last year, it was unfortunate to see him go down so early. Wait, so what's going on with Stephon Gilmore? He's
a free agent.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was going to resign back or not. I heard some murmurs.
I don't think so.
There's a rumor that he's going to sign with the Rams.
I saw that too. That's when I also with Tyrann Mathieu.
The rich get richer.
There's print money out there. Let's make our way to the New Orleans Saints. They bring back famous Jameis on a 2-year, $28 million deal. Just to support him, they bring in Andy Dalton. Why not? They re-sign Traquan Smith, who, he's a
slightly above average, I would say.
He can fill in when needed. 2-year, $6 million deals, very team friendly. And then on defense, they bring back PJ Williams, who I've always liked. He's a solid man corner. He's got some size to it. Not great, but he's consistent. And then they bring in Marcus May after he left the Jets. They signed him to a 3-year, $28 million deal. He's a very solid safety.
Got to replace that Marcus Williams hole.
And then they also brought in Daniel Sorensen, who, dear God, if he ever gets isolated in the deep middle, it's a touchdown.
Yeah. He had his time a couple years ago, and it's just been. Whew.
He is a box safety who should never leave the box.
It reminds me of Landon Collins, actually.
Did you mention Malcolm Jenkins retiring?
Yep, he did retire.
No, yeah, that's that too. I was gonna say the Michael Thomas situation.
Slap boy.
Like, I don't know. These diva receivers. Like, first it was he was gonna wait to get his surgery because he wanted to be able to enjoy his off season. And then he missed the whole year. And then it was does he even want to be on the team? And
I'm not a huge Michael Thomas fan. I think he's a good talent, but a little overrated. And he thinks it's his own view on himself.
I try not to get obsessed with catches unless like you're just putting a whole team on your back, and it's like. But for the most part, I don't care if you're getting like in this league. If you're in a passing offense and you have a good quarterback, you can get the catches. Like,
I think he definitely benefited from Sean Payton's offense and Drew Brees' accuracy.
For sure. But I guess it's just they showed their faith in Jameis. They got, well, I don't know if y'all read the new rumors today that they traded with the Eagles to get 2 picks to package them to trade up to get a quarterback. So maybe they don't have faith in Jameis. I was honestly for sure they were getting 2 first-round picks to just support the team and compete. But now the report is that they're going to try and trade up further into the first round to grab one of these quarterbacks.
That would be weird to me because I feel like all the moves they've made have been a team that sees himself as a playoff contender, and a weak quarterback draft. I keep saying it over and over, but it's the truth. Why would you trade 2 assets to move up to get one of those? Doesn't make sense to me. And Jameis Winston was really promising last year before his injury. Draft another receiver and draft another playmaker to bolster the roster, and
I agree.
Maybe they can make something work next year.
You know what I actually was happy about when they announced that Taysom Hill was only moving to tight end? Because he's a weapon. You know, he's a strong runner. He's a better athlete than most people give him credit for. Let him play tight end, H-back, come in on some quarterback plays here and there. But I think when you just make him a quarterback like they were trying to do, it lessens his value. I prefer having a guy that you bring in and the defense is like, what package do we put out there? I think he's better for the team when he is interchangeable puzzle piece.
Fair enough. Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I guess they're gonna ride Alvin Kamara. Hope Jameis Winston stays the course, and they'll be able to compete. They'll be able to compete for sure.
Especially, I think. I guess the next team is the Buccaneers.
Yep, the Deep South.
Since they're probably going to be the favorite doing the division again anyway. But I can see the Saints giving them a little run for their money.
So the thing with the Bucs, which we've discussed in the past, is they are a little on the old side. Brady comes back. Giovanni Bernard, Leonard Fournette come back. Fournette's, got a nice little role in this offense. They were able to get Shaq Mason from the Patriots. He's a real nice guard. They bring in Russell Gage from the Buccaneers, who he can fit back into that number 3 role, which I think suits him really well. They gave Chris Godwin that little 3-year, $60 million. They basically gave him the DJ Moore contract, and I would say I like him better than DJ Moore, so that's a plus.
It was unfortunate how he fell out, got hurt last year at the end.
Yeah.
A couple games out in the playoffs.
I think Brady coming back was a catalyst for Ryan Jensen to re-sign. And on defense, they re-signed Carlton Davis, who's a promising corner for them. They bring in Keanu Neal from the Cowboys, and they're apparently putting him back at safety.
That's interesting. He's played linebacker for a couple years now, hasn't he?
Yeah, they're moving back. Linebacker. Well, they lost Whitehead to
Jordan Whitehead. The Jets.
Yeah.
Because then Marcus May went to the Saints, and they signed Whitehead.
So he might fill in that role, and Whitehead was playing up in the box, kind of thumper role.
Makes sense. So.
They're definitely going to try and run it back. That's the whole plan. I still say Brady is due to crumble.
You can't stay good forever. It is what it is. He's going to have to reach his downward slope at some point.
Yeah, I can't imagine him crumbling. He could if he plays long enough, it's going to happen eventually. But I don't know, him retiring and then coming out of retirement, he must feel good.
Yeah,
there can only be 2 outcomes for end of this year. He either throws a game-winning touchdown pass in the Super Bowl, or he throws a Brett Favre pick six to end the game in the playoffs, and after the end of either of those plays, he just turns into gold dust and just fades away into the wind.
Disappears forever.
Do you think he would have stayed retired if he won the Super Bowl, or do you think he just has the juice still?
I mean, he can definitely still play, unfortunately, but
I don't
who
think
knows?
Getting that next ring wouldn't have demotivated him not to get any more yet.
Yeah,
I mean, he's getting paid. He apparently really likes it. I mean,
Tampa Bay still needs to add to that D line too. I don't know if you guys mentioned that.
No, we did not. But that's a good point. Isn't Sue gone now?
yeah.
I think he's trying to come back.
Yeah. I think he tweeted, "Let's run it back," and they're like, "I don't know."
He's definitely getting up there, Pat. I mean, he's way past his prime.
But
I hate that guy.
They're definitely.
A lot.
Yeah. Remember when he almost ripped Jake Delhome's head off his rookie year?
And it's crazy though because he seems like such a nice guy too. Like in all of his interviews, he just seems like the sweetest guy. And then
psycho.
When he snaps, he's like,
But I think we can say the Bucks are definitely the favorites in the South.
Yeah,
definitely agree. But the Saints will give him a shot. Give him a little 1-2 if Jameis can stay healthy. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Eating doves.
Ugh. So let's go to the West, the NFC West. So let's start with the Cardinals. I don't know what to say about this team. They re-signed James Conner, the Vulture, to a 3-year, $21 million extension. I like James Conner. I think he fits this team well because it's a very finesse team, and he's kind of a throwback. I just think they overpaid him. They bring in Zach Ertz they re-signed him on the 3-year, $31 million contract. Again, good player. I think they overpaid him a little bit. And they also brought back Max Williams, he's a blocking tight end. He has some wheels. And then on the O-line, they signed Will Henderson from the Giants. He's kind of been disappointing, but he's a mauler. He'll give you a little punch in the run game. And then, I mean, they've made some signing on defense, but nothing to really hang your hat on. It all comes down to this whole Kyler Murray contract situation. And at least with Lamar Jackson, he's gotten to the playoffs. He's won a playoff game. Kyler Murray, he's choked in the big games. He's injury prone. He's one of those guys that he can't play when he's hurt. The difference between healthy Murray and dinged up Murray is vastly different.
2 different Murrays.
And then the Rams Ryan Tannehill played really bad in the playoffs, but Kyler Murray, it was embarrassing to watch against the Rams. I don't know what he was doing.
I agree.
Yeah, I feel like they've added talent. I mean, they traded for DeAndre Hopkins. They signed Zach Ertz. They've done things to help him, but it still feels like they need
They
more.
lost Kirk Cousins.
And
God, why do I always do that? Christian Kirk.
Who?
Christian Kirk.
Yeah, and they have
Again.
Who's that rookie receiver they had that played
Moore,
decent?
Rondell
Moore. Yeah.
Short
But
stack.
I don't think Kyler Murray's overrated because I think he is a very talented quarterback, but I think he's overrated in the sense that he can carry your team to playoff wins, which I don't think he's there yet. I just think they can lean on the run game a little more. I know James Conner had his bunch of touchdowns and all that, but they didn't really have that consistent wear a team down run game, and I really think that could help Kyler Murray.
It's very interesting comparing the Kyler Murray super pass heavy, spread the ball offense to the Ravens Lamar Jackson run heavy, use your tight ends, play action offense, because you have a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is all they can do," and then you have fans saying, "Well, we need to change it up. We need to add to it." But it's worked. But I feel like with Cliff Kingsbury, have we? Yeah, I was gonna say, have we seen like this is the best he can do? And it's like when you get to must-win games, and the defense is like, "Well, we know what you're gonna do, so we're literally gonna dare you to do something else," and it's like, sorry, we can't.
I mean, they pretty much crumbled last year after DeAndre Hopkins got hurt. I mean, his connection with Kyler Murray is pretty electrifying, and I think it's definitely a hot seat year for Kingsbury if it doesn't go well.
Listen, he couldn't win with Patrick Mahomes in college, so
pretty sure he had a losing record, and that's why there was a new report about the whole head coaching thing from last year or 2 years ago before he got hired. I just just saw that today. Get into that another day though.
Yep.
They'll be competitive. It's just, are we gonna have another? Like, I feel like they start so hot every year and then it just falls apart. So hopefully they can turn it around.
Definitely expected more out of them in that Rams game. Blues could be competitive.
For sure. Speaking of the Rams, let's go to our next team, the Los Angeles Rams. After coming off the Super Bowl, they signed Matthew Stafford to a 3-year, $129 million extension. Hey, you put the team on your back, win the big game. You deserve it.
He earned it. He definitely earned it.
They signed Allen Robinson to a 3-year, $46 million deal, which I think he is going to absolutely go off. Not just with this team. I think he's a great fit with Stafford. I'm excited to see what they do. They re-signed their center, Brian Allen. They bring in Bobby Wagner. There's rumors that they're going to sign Tyrann Mathieu and potentially Stephon Gilmore. Odell Beckham might still come back if he will take. I guess it's, do you want to maximize your earnings, or do you want to just come back and run it back?
Get some dubs.
Cam Akers is going to be fully recovered now. So
they have some talent.
They need to get there a little better on the O-line.
Yeah,
and they can maybe use some safety help. But that's it. Like,
yeah. And if they sign those other two guys we just talked about, being Matthew and Stephon Gilmore, then they really they were already a super team last year with all the stars they had. Now you're gonna add two more of the biggest names in football. It's just gonna be unfair for the whole division.
Just like they were saying, F them picks. We're just gonna sign everyone,
and it worked. That's the thing. And
we're gonna get their.
I feel like their philosophy is just add good players through free agency or whatever else trading, give up the high draft capital, and then with those late round picks, try to use that just to build depth. I think that's one thing they could use is a little bit more depth because they did lose some key players from last year's Super Bowl run. But I mean, if Odell comes back healthy, I don't know if he'll be ready for the beginning of the year. But if they have Odell healthy, Allen Robinson, and Cooper Kupp, it's going to be hard to stop. And then they have that three-headed monster of a running game. So,
and then their market alone, being in LA, is so appealing to all these stars. It's probably the most popular market in the entire league, especially players like Odell Beckham and these guys that like to really put on their jewelry and all that good stuff.
The Rams are definitely my favorite to win the NFC. I just feel like the talent gap is it's pretty vast.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like multiple NFC teams have, especially the top tier NFC teams, have not really taken a step forward. Some have taken a step back, and I feel like the Rams
You're cruising, man.
have done what they need. Yeah, I feel like they've done what they needed to do to give themselves a shot at repeating.
So did Aaron Donald officially? What was his? He still was under contract anyway, right? It wasn't about like re-signing. It was more just am I gonna retire or not? Okay, cool. Yeah, so yeah, with that too. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I think he's not going to retire yet.
Yeah, so let's go to the San Francisco 49ers.
This is an interesting one.
They signed JaMychal Hasty to a 1-year extension. They re-signed Jeff Wilson. They bring in Ray McLeod. They signed... I'm trying to see. They signed Travarius Ward, Darquez Denard, Hassan Ridgeway to beef up the defense a little bit. But, I mean, it's going to be basically the same team, except... What was that defense tackle they lost?
TJ Jones.
They lost him.
Well, it's not Solomon Thomas. Armstead?
What was that?
Armstead?
Well, they still have him. But Fred Warner is going to be coming back. And I guess the whole thing is, what are they going to do with their quarterback, right? Other than that, it should be the same team.
That's what it's interesting.
And I really don't know, because I keep seeing these reports with Trey Lance. One report will literally say Trey Lance is taking over the team. The next report will say Trey Lance isn't trusted by the coaching staff. And then Jimmy G's hurt, won't be healthy till after, I think, training camp starts.
I hope they trust him. They drafted him.
Yeah.
Unless they didn't like what they saw last year.
They're
I don't know if Trey Lance is ready to start next year personally.
I haven't seen enough to judge.
I don't know how you run it back with Jimmy G, even though they owe him a lot of money. I still think they're trying to fish around for a trade. I just don't think any teams want him.
I think Jimmy
right
G
now.
has done his part. He had his chance to win the Super Bowl. And it's time to move on. You got a solid team, a good coach, good coaching staff. It sucks that you're in the same division as the Rams, but
with better quarterback, they had a chance last year.
Did you see the Deebo Samuel stuff that came out today? He unfollowed the 49ers and apparently deleted a lot of his 49ers posts.
Ooh.
I don't trust any of that stuff anymore.
I usually don't either, but I'm like, it's interesting.
It's definitely interesting.
Maybe if you're the Jets, you call them and be like, "We'll give you all of our picks."
That's bad. Get to Washington, man. We need them.
And then, I also heard that someone said that for his contract negotiations, they were making it sound like the 49ers might use the fact that he plays running back sometimes against him.
Oh, he'll leave.
Because they were like, you're getting a lot of these carries, and running backs don't have a long shelf life.
It's all sweeps and stuff. He doesn't run up the middle.
A lot of end arounds.
It's not sweeps, but outside runs.
Screens too. I mean, it's not cool.
If anything, I'd be like, I need more money.
Yeah. They did get lucky with
his advantage.
They did get lucky with Eli Mitchell becoming a little breakout running back for them. Mm-hmm. Hopefully George Kittle can stay healthy.
It's another one, yeah.
Brandon Ayuk, he kind of took the next step.
Yeah.
He's a good complement to this offense. I think they could use someone to stretch the field, just a straight up vertical threat. But then again, Jimmy G, that's not really his game. But
the thing with Ayuk was too,
won't be his game to play.
He started off, that rough start, but it wasn't even all on him. I think as much as how they were using him, and we kind of talked about that during because we all passed him around in fantasy for a while because he was
Brandon Ayuk,
and I think it was more on how Shanahan was scheming him into the playbook over. I mean, he had a few drops here and there, but he's still a playmaker. So elusive and agile after he gets the ball. You got to get him the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, I don't really know how I feel about them. I think they'll be a playoff team just because their team's talented enough. But I want them to start Trey Lance, and I'm just curious what Kyle Shanahan does with him, what kind of offense they'll run with him.
I like them. They're definitely, I think, they should be a playoff team. I just want to see a little more consistency out of the passing attack. And
if they could get a nice Kyle Shanahan can do it. If they can get a nice RPO offense with Trey Lance, get him running a lot, it could be a dangerous offense.
Yeah.
Trey Lance might just need a couple extra years to be seasoned and prepared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely as a
so Excuse me. Let's move on to the Seattle Seahawks. They right out of the gate, they traded Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos, and they bring in extra picks, Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, Noah Fant. They re-signed Rashad Penny, who finally, after being a first-round pick, showed promise at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
They re-signed Will Dissly, who's a solid tight end, but I'm a little worried that he's had a really good connection with Russ. So I don't know how he'll do, but the duo of him and Noah Fant should be effective. If I was this team, that would kind of probably be my bread and butter, especially with Locke if they do run it back with him. Then they bring in a few defense tackles, Quentin Jefferson and Al Woods. They re-signed Sidney Jones, re-signed Quandre Diggs.
How did Sidney Jones do for them last year?
He was all right. He wasn't amazing.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even say he was good, but
Serviceable.
You can put him out there,
semi-serviceable.
but yeah.
Yeah, I saw they brought in Ukena Nwosu though from the Chargers for some pass rush. That was a decent signing, but I think it all falls on to Seattle. What is your team going to be next year? Are you guys still selling out for more picks for the next year? You guys going to try and compete with Drew Lock, or you guys going to draft somebody this year? I think it all depends because all these signings could mean Jack Daly squat if they're not going to do anything offensively.
I mean, they're paying all this money to safeties.
I'm saying.
And a safety none of us like in Jamal Adams. Their most talented aspect of their offense is their wide receiver duo. We don't even know if they're going to keep DK Metcalf, and then where does that leave Lockett? I just feel like they're doing the opposite of what we all think teams should do, which is build the trenches, have a good D-line, have a good O-line. They re-signed Penny, but besides the 4 or 5 games last year, he's been pretty ineffective throughout his career.
Chris Carson's neck's all jacked up.
Yeah, and then like you just said, Drew Lock, what is he gonna do? He has an arm, he can sling the ball, but
Listen,
give him a chance.
Line,
if you're
I
not
would
gonna
be
draft this year. Give him a chance, but you gotta get a quarterback next year. Then
I like his swagger. I'd be happy if he broke
yeah,
out.
I definitely don't dislike him.
And if they can get a run game going and get the play action and attack the middle of the field with their 2 tight ends and then just throw bombs to Lockett and Metcalf, it could work.
Lock's got to grasp it, though. Firmly grasp it.
We'll just see.
Take his opportunity because he lost out to Teddy. Remember, because I brought it up in one of the division doctors. I think he had a chance to take that starting job, and he just didn't have the timing Teddy did with the receivers and stuff. And that's what they said. He was in interviews, but
he just gets antsy in the pocket. I really like his arm talent. As I just said, he can sling it everywhere. He kind of dances around back there, and he can move. It's not like he's a statue. But I think it would be, like you both said, it would be cool to see him have a successful season. But I think it would be best for them to just play it out. If he plays well, good for them. If not, go for a quarterback next year or the year after.
Yeah.
Nail on the head.
Yeah, I think for the NFC.
So what I do?
Nailed it.
If you look at the Rams, 49ers, the Buccaneers, Vikings, Cowboys, Eagles.
Are we talking about playoff teams? Scrap the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Who knows? And
not even being a Cowboy hater based off the offseason.
Yeah. Well, then I was going to say the Packers because of Rodgers. Perhaps the Saints if Jameis can,
I'm still not convinced that the Packers were going to make the playoffs just because of Aaron Rodgers if he has nobody to throw to.
Oh, that's why I listed them later because I think I give Rodgers his credit, but I don't like the rest of the team.
I do too.
And I think Washington could be in the mix too.
Yeah. Our defense has to go back to 2019 though, or 2020, I should say.
Yeah.
If your defense plays like 2020 and Carson Wentz has a
We
good
need
year,
half
you
that,
guys
and
will be
I'll be happy. They just took a big step back, and I think, well, I'll give Del Rio didn't get in trouble, so we'll let him go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NFC doesn't compare to the AFC this year, so it'll be interesting to see how all these moves
It's
have
like you
played
give
out.
the AFC West against that have just those 4 teams in the AFC versus the entire NFC in a tournament style thing, and they would fucking win. Excuse my language.
The only take away my biased feelings as an Eagles fan, I feel like the only team in the NFC that can compete with the AFC firepower is the Rams.
Yeah. Yeah, the
currently
the division of talent is definitely skewed, at least from what we think. Who knows what will actually happen come game time.
It's giving me NBA vibes with the East and West. That one's always way higher than the other when it comes to just pure skill.
Yeah.
Winning.
You guys have any other parting thoughts?
I think we covered it.
Alrighty, so that does it for the show. I think this is technically episode 5. Thanks for tuning in and watching. This is No Interference with Westside, Big Sass, The Bull. Thanks for taking your time to watch. Like, subscribe, share. I would love if we got a good comment or comments that we can get a conversation started. Follow us on social medias on Instagram and Twitter. And we will see you next week. Adios.
See you.
Bye.